Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. I have a quick one for you today. So even if you don't know, I'm actually fortunate enough to live in one of the most prosperous lands on the face of the earth. As it's sometimes referred to or described, the United States. And of course, there's a lot of things there is to be grateful for that fact alone. But I'm a person of color and my experience as such is going to be vastly different from any other group. A couple of things to first set aside, alright? I don't buy into the victimhood mentality that's perpetuated by the political agenda that essentially to some extent has enslaved the minds of certain minority groups, or in more plain terms, I don't believe that by default of being a person of color that everything it's somehow out to get me or against me or any of that garbage whatsoever. That said, there's no denying that as far as quality of life goes, as far as a society goes, America is one of the best places to be. Many people would rather be here than in many other places. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm not here to talk about. We're here, as you can see on the title, we're here to talk about some events that unfolded some 72 plus hours ago. We in the United States had another quintessential example of basically a police case where there was just everything wrong with the situation. I'll link to the clips if you haven't seen it already. Seems to be somewhat going viral. I'll describe to you very briefly what ensued in one of them. And the first one, the more recent one, two police officers pulled over a car into a gas station. One steps out of the vehicle, draws his gun, radios to the others nearby that he just pulled over someone by the traffic stop, even though they're in a gas station, as you'd see in the clip. And then, subsequent to that, the two police officers start yelling commands. Put your hands out of the window, stop the engine, get out of the car, almost simultaneously. And we know, or maybe you don't, but in the United States, people get shot in those kind of situations for the slightest of things, right? We've had people who got shot for moving their hands out of sight. We've had people who got shot for reaching for your wallet, opening the door, whatnot. So that's a very sensitive situation, and it was just being handled very poorly by the officers. And you see how apparent this is in the clip. If you know police code, you'd know that everything was just a mess. Then preceding all this, we had the accidental discharge that led to the killing of a young man in his early 20s, just a couple of days prior, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really know the timeline, but it wasn't that far off from this event. And then, even recently, I know a 13-year-old was shot, was found with a gun, and in a split second, the cop shot the boy dead. And, so we've had this series of events, and of course, context is everything. At times, you can't really blame the officers, but then again, I'm making this to highlight something else. Now, to the meat of the issue. What does defunding the police really mean? At first glance, you might want to take the literal interpretation of the statement, and I can't really blame you. A lot of the meaning of that phrase was lost in translation in the chaos of the Black Lives Matter movement, George Floyd killing and all that. But if we paid some attention to the nuance of the conversations happening online and the plight of the people that the whole charade began with, you should start recontextualizing and re-examining the underlying questions being begged. Okay? Some of those questions include, but are not limited to, for example, I think for me, the main question is, does the police have too much power? Is probably the prominent question at the end of the day. As it stands today, does the police have, just too much power? And another question that is worth asking is, have we as a society overburdened the police with tasks that they shouldn't be responsible for? Some even going as far as saying demilitarize the police, which I'm not sure I understand at this point of making this video what that means, but so even if the whole defunding the police thing wasn't necessarily providing answers to the questions that it put forth, on one hand, defunding the police means relieving them of certain responsibilities, because more responsibilities is tantamount to more power. For some, that meant demilitarize, and for others, something else. If you're sitting here going, well, more white people are statistically more likely to be shot by cops, blah, blah, blah. I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, man. It's not a matter of race, right? Everyone has been affected by this. Everyone, independent of race, everybody gets affected by this. The misconduct, poor situational analysis, and the likes of the police in this few examples that have consistently, at this point, it seems like a trend, which I think is in part just because now there is more avenues and more mediums that are in place to make it easier to vet these things, and it's more obvious to us, the public. So I think that plays a role. But this isn't a matter of race. Funny thing is, as an outsider, right? As an outsider, it's always strange how Americans are so quick to get the police involved in everything. I don't know if it's an American thing or a Western thing, but I don't know if other outsiders feel the same, or more specifically, non-Westerners. I feel for some reason that maybe this is a Western thing. I don't know. So you guys can tell me in the comments. Maybe I'm ignorant. But it's really bad. It's really bad. Imagine a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old playing on a playground or on the streets, maybe fighting, and then some stranger, usually white, would call the cops on them. The cops get involved in everything. Everything, man. Even the most trivial and asinine things. So I think the role of the police has to be redefined, because over time it has come to encompass a host of things that has nothing to do with policing. If parents can't train their children and teach them how to act, gets the police involved. Just dumb shit. Just inane. It's weird. I don't know. From an outsider's perspective, it's just laughable, to be honest. But anyway, that said, pertaining to the latest coverage of the consistent epic police fails, if you want to call it that, for the past couple of weeks, I truly can only imagine how things were before cameras, the body cams and what is it called, CCTV and all that stuff to prove these things were happening. Imagine now there are cameras. This is how demonstrably bad it is. Imagine when no one was recording. It would have just been an uphill battle. The eyewitnesses' word or the community's word versus the police word. So what does defunding the police really mean at the end of the day? It's definitely not abolishing. Proponents of that argument might just be brain dead, because obviously for any society to function close to efficiently, you need enforcers of the law. You need some kind of enforcing body. You need executioners. Should there be more strict boundaries on the power that the enforcers possess? Most likely. But that's part of the ongoing conversations that this series of events prompted. I feel this is one of those kind of topics that would be more interesting to bring someone on air and discuss this with, which would be possible in the future. Anyway, that said, I'm the Rogue Academic. I'm pissed. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.